The one about
Yep. Yep. That's what I was thinking. Okay, let's pull that up.
one about
Yep. Yep.
That's what
Okay.
I was thinking.
We are on. Very good. Everybody just if you're watching this, hello. We'll get started in 25 seconds. Okay. You know what? We'll even do the actual intro because why not?
Yeah. Welcome to Workology, where we decode the hustle, the hierarchy, and how to slay both. I'm Daisy, project manager and HR expert, here to help you level up in every room you walk into.
And I'm Jonathan, entrepreneur and unapologetic champion for self-worth and value-driven success.
From promotions to pivots, we've got the blueprint. This is Workology.
Mastering the workplace one slay at a time. Ta-da! You remember
Yay.
recording that so long ago?
I know.
And how many times we tried to make it like perfect?
I know. And I listened to it and I still want to, I'm like, oh man, we should record it again.
Well, I mean, at some point we'll be able to do it live, but hello, everyone. Today on Workology, that place where entrepreneurship meets the corporate angle, where we talk about what life is like when you work for a big company and what life is like when you're trying to build or have already built a big company. Approaches to everything, I think they're quite different when you are running your own ship versus when you are a member of a crew trying to keep someone else's ship afloat. So that's kind of what we're dealing with today. And as you can see from the title, we're talking about customer service. Daisy, how important to your company is customer service?
It's so important that it is embedded into our core behaviors. And so a lot of companies, you'll hear them say or discuss like their values, like we value this or value that. At our company, we call them core behaviors. And for us, it is so important that it's built into that. And so it's for us, it's all about trust, building trust and understanding the fact that it takes time to build and it's very easily ruined. And so having that customer trust is critical. And again, I think a lot of times people underestimate the importance of holding the customers that you have, as opposed to always thinking that you need to find new customers, right? And so obviously, we always have to find new customers, but if we're losing customers and finding customers, the net gain tends to be like zero, right? And so you want to hold on to your customers, be amazing, have their loyalty as you continue to grow and expand. And I think that's how you really become a huge company that stands a test of time and, like the Disneys of the world, 100-year organization, right?
It's so funny you mentioned Disney because when you go to one of the parks, customer service, guest experience, whatever they call it,
Yeah.
uh, is so,
Yeah.
so paramount that even the CEO, he wrote a book called Be Our Guest. And it's all about the importance of customer service. That is equally as important as product. And I love what you said when you said if you're gaining a customer,
Yeah.
but then losing a customer, what
Yeah.
was the phrase that you used?
I think I said leaky bucket.
Leaky bucket. Okay,
Did I
okay. I
say
think
that?
you said something else. Maybe you said leaky bucket.
I don't know. Oh my gosh. I don't know which I said. I also think of leaky bucket because in tech you hear like I've heard that said a lot where it's like if you have a hole in your bucket, it doesn't matter how much water you're filling it up with, there's always just going to be water pouring out. And so you want
Hmm.
to have like a firm, solid cup. But on your point of Disney, before we move on from them, I do want to say I studied hospitality. That's what I went to school for. And so customer service is very important, guest experience, all of that. But something that I found very interesting, specifically about Disney, since we're talking about them, I remember hearing once that the way that Disney trains all of their employees is that if, let's say, for example, you're at the park and you're asking someone who's sweeping what time the parade is going to start. right? Like what, let's say you're at Magic Kingdom. What time is, the Main Street Parade going to begin? The person isn't just going to tell you the time that it starts. They're going to walk you through the best place to sit and like how you should, think about preparing yourself for the moment. Like they are not just going to say it starts at 3 o'clock, good luck. Or actually, I don't know the answer to that question. You're going to need to go ask guest services, or, 5 feet away from me or whatever. Like they're not going to send you on this hunt. Like people are expected to know critical pieces of information and be a part of that experience, excuse me. And I think one of the key words I remember learning a lot about and hearing excessively, actually, but to the point where it's just like so embedded in me, is the word empowerment, where they empower every level of the business. Doesn't matter where you are, right? To be able to provide and to be a part of that. So I thought that that was really cool with Disney.
That is a really good point. No matter where you are in the hierarchy, no matter who you are,
Yeah.
if you interact with guests, you're you're expected to know the answer to their question or to know how to find it quickly
Mm.
and lead them to that answer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. You know who else does something similar? Is Walmart.
Mm,
If you're ever in, which, gosh, I can't remember the last time I was actually in a Walmart, come to think of
yeah.
it. But if you're ever in one, and you ask somebody, hey, where are the whatevers, right? They will stop what they're doing and walk you to that.
Hmm.
Because I remember each time going like, dude,
Yeah.
it's okay. You're doing your thing. I'll find it. Thank you.
Same at Whole Foods.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Mhm.
awesome customer service at Whole
Yeah.
Foods. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the brands and companies with great products and or services have great customer service
Hmm.
for the most part.
Uh-oh.
Because every now and then you get one of those companies that just the upper echelons, the executive levels, whoever's making those decisions, either they don't seem to care or they're completely clueless.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example.
Okay, let's hear it.
Since I was 12, 13, whenever I first got my cell phone for the first time, which was even before smartphones, I'm talking like, you know what a candy bar phone is? You remember that? Um,
Yes.
I have been with Verizon. My whole family's been with Verizon. And it's been 20 some odd years, whatever. Well, there was a line on my account, a number on my account that didn't have a phone attached to it for whatever the reason.
Hmm.
And I was looking at the bill and realizing, oh my gosh, I've been paying for this line with no phone attached to it for more than a year.
Hmm.
And maybe it was something that got mixed up when I got a new phone and then
Yeah.
I don't know. But I called customer service and I spent maybe an hour. You ever had that hour-long customer service call
I
when they're
sure
like, let
have.
me speak to a supervisor, and then you
Yep.
wait, and then they have to, well, please hold. That's annoying enough on its own. But hey, if it ends with a solution, even
Hmm.
if it's not necessarily the solution I want to hear, but at least it's a solution,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. What happened with this particular situation was after waiting on hold for probably 30 minutes, then speaking to a rep for another 30, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
this representative clearly was not in the US, which to me, eh, that part I don't care about. What I do care about is if you're going to be the only avenue I can take for customer service, at least be able to understand, to speak the language, be able to understand me, and I should be able to understand you. The first person, it was very difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very difficult. So I had to wait another 20 minutes while they got their supervisor. And I finally got somebody who spoke much more clearly, and I was very happy. And I talked her through what the situation was. She was looking through the account and said, okay, I see what you're talking about. I see how long you've been paying on this. We're going to issue you a credit for it was probably close to like $800, $900. It was a lot that I'd been paying over a couple of years. And I said, you know what? That's terrific. No complaints there. Let's make sure we cancel that line.
Mhm.
But I'll absolutely take that. Very good. Great job. She even asked if I would give her a 5-star review
Yeah.
because she was applying to get a higher job, whatever. It was very, very pleasant.
Right.
Well, the next bill came and there was no credit and that line was still on there. And I said, well, let me give him a month. Let me give him a month.
Ay, ay, ay.
Then the next bill came, no credit. The line was still on there. I called customer service again. We don't see anything. We don't see any record of, we see that you called. We don't see any record of a credit being given. We don't see any record of a line being removed.
Whoa.
Yep. And I said, so wait a minute. You're telling me that that can't be done? They say, well, we don't give those kind of credits. Whoever gave you that information was in, and I just said, you know what? That's it. That's it. So after 20 years, I went to Spectrum Mobile.
Yeah.
And this is not an endorsement of them. Who knows? Maybe I'll like them, maybe I won't. But my bill was I saved more than 50% on my monthly payment for like
Right.
4 or 5 phones in my household, right?
Oh, wow.
More than 50%. And I even got gift cards as an incentive to pay off the early termination fee on my Verizon contract. I felt bad. It almost felt like a breakup. Like I
Hmm.
felt bad leaving Verizon, but that customer service issue
Yeah.
really pushed me to the next level. I even went to a physical Verizon store and said, "Hey, can you guys tell me what's going on here?" Yeah, we can't look at that account because it was so long ago or whatever. It's like,
Oh,
well,
please.
and I said, well, can somebody help here? Oh, you'd have to call customer service. So it becomes this loop, right?
Right.
Well, Spectrum has mostly US based customer service. I know because I use them for my cable internet.
Hmm.
Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But when I talk to people from that company, they are able to make decisions in order to solve the problem.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah.
Does your company allow for that in its customer service personnel? Like you can make the decision, you can be the final say in what we do to keep this customer happy.
Yeah. I think that there are decisions that are within the hands of the customer experienced team. And then I think that there are decisions that are within the hands of the product team and the engineering team to possibly need to build it. I think as a more technical company with a more technical product, those decisions, depending on what the ask is, can be a little bit more, I would just say longer tail in terms of execution, but not out of reach in terms of making it happen. And I know that specifically the sales, engineering, and the product teams, if there are, for example, very big customers that we're trying to acquire or big customers that we're trying to retain, and they have certain needs as they're renewing their contracts or as they're deciding to buy our product, I know that those conversations happen where if they say, hey, we really need this one thing that you guys don't have, is it possible? Is it on your product roadmap? What can you do to make it happen? And I know that that's definitely something that's taken into consideration where sometimes a CEO will be brought in or our chief technology officer could be brought into those conversations. And so I know that that definitely happens, but I think the problem sometimes with companies, let's say, for example, like a Verizon, our company is quite scrappy. We are less than 1,000 employees. Verizon has hundreds of thousands of employees, I assume,
Absolutely.
globally, right? And so I just think that sometimes there is this, I take you for granted as my customer, as opposed to viewing you as someone worth keeping. And in fact, I think it's interesting that you had an experience with Verizon because I also had an experience with Verizon, a negative one. And I think that my fuse is much shorter than yours because I walked into the Verizon store. I'll never forget, I was in Palo Alto, I was living in California at the time.
It's like imprinted on you, didn't it?
Oh, it's so imprinted on me, like, and you'll know why when I wrap up the story. But I walked into this Verizon store because I had some questions about my phone, and I think that I was at a point where I could get a new phone. And so I was kind of excited about exploring. And I also hadn't done that in a very long time. Like my phone, I had had my phone for a very long time. And so I walk into the store. I'm not kidding. There is not a single other customer in that store. And there are about 2 to 3 employees that are
Oh.
there, not acknowledging me, greeting me, checking on me. I'm just walking that store and I'm waiting. I'm just standing there waiting. Like, when is someone going to come and acknowledge me and say hello or ask me if I have any questions? Because I definitely am here to buy some things that I'm ready to blow. It was like, a Saturday or something, ready to, drop some cash on a Saturday and nothing. I was so upset. I was like, okay. So I called my husband and I said, I'm going to be switching to AT&T. It was across the street, and I went
Oh.
straight across the street. I walked right into the AT&T store because they were also doing promotions. You know that they do this all the time.
Hmm.
Like if you turn in your phone or if you switch from another, company, if you come over from Verizon, we'll give you this or we'll give you that. There were
Right.
promotions happening. I walked straight across and I spent the rest of my Saturday sitting in that AT&T store getting my phone set up and talking to the salesperson and just I was like, I went to Verizon. They didn't even acknowledge that I was alive. So here I am. What do I need to do to switch my line over? And it was inconvenient. It was uncomfortable. I spent my whole Saturday there, but it was worth it because I was like, I'm not going to give a single dollar to a company who doesn't ensure that its employees, and maybe I don't know if Verizon is at fault here as a greater company, but the fact that 3 employees were standing in a store and were more, I don't know, concerned with speaking to each other than to speak to me or like just, I don't know, not even acknowledge that I was there. I was like, why am I giving you $100 every month? You don't deserve my $100 every month. I'll take it somewhere
Right.
else.
And not only that, but if that's how they treat a potential customer, like I've got this money,
Yeah.
I'd like to exchange it for,
Yeah.
your services, whatever. How would a current customer be treated? Oop, did I lose you? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Sorry, I just had to sneeze.
No, you're okay. You're okay. But it's like, how would a current customer
Yeah.
be treated?
No, I was a
And
current customer. I was a Verizon customer. My phone was with them, and I wanted to upgrade my phone. I wanted to get
oh,
an iPhone, and it was that time of year. I had had my phone for many years.
mhm.
And so I was an existing customer for multiple years with them. Not as long as you, of course, 20 years, but I was with them for quite some time. And I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I'm out. And when I made the transition over to AT&T, my husband and I, like my husband was on his dad's phone plan for so many
Mhm.
years. Like his dad had been paying for, because he was in college and stuff.
Sure.
And so I said to him, I was like, do you want to come over with me? Like, is this a point in time where now we merge our cell phones and like, do this big step as a married couple, And so we ended up doing that. So AT&T got 2 lines and Verizon ended up losing that business.
And I mean, it's not difficult to treat people well, or to maybe not make promises that you can't keep as a
Yeah.
company. That's I don't think that's a difficult thing. Um, there came a point where I asked for somebody to connect me or give me a number to an a manager, an office, somebody somewhere who could understand what I was saying, even if they weren't in the US, who could understand what I was saying, but
Yeah.
also had the authority to solve my problem. And I got this one lady, and I thought everything was great. Now I'm thinking they
Mhm.
just wanted to get this guy off the phone.
Yeah.
So they were promising anything they could. And it felt almost like a betrayal when it didn't get done. And
And
I
the
think
fact that
that's the
sorry, I was just going to add, and the fact that she even asked for your 5-star review
yeah,
is
yeah.
also even more appalling.
But you know what happened? I said, when I see that on my account is
Yeah.
when I will leave you that review, whatever. And it never showed up and I never gave it. Uh,
Yeah. Rightfully so.
but I'd even say that there's a difference between being on the phones, whatever, and then being in person. I mean, you were standing right there.
Yeah. Nothing frustrates me more. than entering a business and not being acknowledged. Like I remember when I used to work, I my first job was in retail. I worked for Ann Taylor as a sales associate. And
Okay.
yeah, and the thing that that they said to us was you acknowledge everybody as soon as they walk in the door. You don't have to hit them with all the promotions and like, ask 1,001 questions, but at the very minimum, you say, "Hi, welcome to Ann Taylor," or "Hi, welcome in," just something so that people feel that they are being acknowledged, that there is a sense of gratitude for their presence to be within that business and a sense of warmth, right? I hate it when people are like, "Hi," if I walk into a retail store and they're like, "Hi, everything is 40% off, and if you do this and that, 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 and then I can start a fitting room for you." And I'm just like, "Okay, slow down."
Oh, you
Thank
don't
you.
like that.
I don't like being accosted when I walk into the store with all the promotions. I mean, I understand that that's their job, and as somebody who formerly worked retail, I totally get it. So I'm never like rude or upset or whatever, but I'm just like, "Oh my God, that's a lot." I just walked into it.
That
So
is
it's
a lot.
overwhelming to get it all at one time or to hear it at multiple points in the store. You walk halfway in and maybe the girl caught you at the front and then the one in the middle didn't hear and the front got you. So now you're hearing it again from Rhonda after Mary just said, "What's going on?" And you're just like, "Got it. I could now actually work here and be in the back and rattle off the promos for you in case any of y'all miss somebody, you know?"
hmm Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean. It's been so long since I've walked into a store to
Yeah.
buy clothing or something.
Yeah.
But I do recall what you're talking about. And I think I've had experiences where they were going to launch into that, but I think they handled it well. And it was probably Macy's
Hmm.
in Manhattan, like the big Macy's.
Okay.
'Cause I remember walking into the men's department, like on that men's floor, right? But each brand, as I'm sure around here,
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
brand has their own little section.
Right.
So I'm walking into whatever section it was, and I did hear that like everything over here is 30% off or buy one, get one free, whatever. And I walked to the next section
Hmm.
and different guy was like, did you hear about the sales going? You heard about the specials or something? Yeah, okay, cool. I don't mind that.
Right. Yeah. I don't mind that either. Just to make sure. Yeah.
Right, right. Or what's that classic when you go into a Moe's, the Southwest
Welcome to Mo.
restaurant? Yeah, I think there's great psychology behind that.
Yeah.
Because you hear the door open, I don't mind if they look at me. They don't have to acknowledge me, compliment my shirt, and tell me that they'll be right with me. They hear the door open, they're making the thing, and they're, welcome to Moe's. Great.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, but to not acknowledge that customer, that should be like tick number one on the customer service list if you work in a
Yeah.
physical location.
You greet someone, you acknowledge that they're alive, that they have entered your business.
Hmm
It's like if somebody were to walk into your house, and obviously it's very different because you're not just having strangers coming into your home, but if somebody were to come into your house and you don't say hi to them,
You know what? That's a really good point. That's weird for both of you. Like
yeah,
you have to actually work not to acknowledge that person.
yeah. And there's three of you, not a one. And I'm a pretty girl,
I was
I'm
just
like
gonna say,
doing
I
my
was
own fun. I'm not just some, Quasimodo walking up there like Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like I'm a cutie pie, like
I get it, and I don't mean to turn this into a Verizon hatred fest. It's
Bash.
not that. It's not that, but
Yeah.
it clearly isn't the first time
Yeah.
that that's happened, even to the two people in this Zoom room. And I think when you're starting a business or a passion project, what do you a side hustle, you should be aware of customer service and customer perception. Sometimes it might cost you time and or money. Not a lot of time and or money, but you
Hmm.
know what? If you let's say you own you bake wedding cakes on the side or specialty cakes, and somebody says, I asked for this flavor. I asked for chocolate, and inside I got German chocolate. it's not the biggest deal. I mean, it was still good, but that's not what we asked for.
Yeah.
What do you think a proper response would be in that situation, Baker Daisy?
I think that that is a situation where the customer is right. And if they ordered something and they did not receive it, there is an apology, there is a correction, and there is some form of like a win back. You are going to try to discount or offer, on the next one, or hey, this one's on us, don't worry about it. Because I think that
There
you
you go.
really only have one opportunity to win back the customer, maybe two if you're lucky. In fact, my husband and I were talking about this recently with restaurants, that if you go to a restaurant and the first time that you eat there, you don't have a great experience, you will only give it one other try before completely writing them off. And the reason you give it one more try is because you think, okay, you know what? Maybe that day was an off day. It could have been really busy. The kitchen could have been off, whatever. So you kind of like give them the benefit of the doubt. But if you have two really poor experiences, there's no way you're going back.
Mm-mm.
Now, there is um, and I can't remember the exact terminology, but again, I remember when I was in college studying hospitality, there was a term for it that was basically coining that if you are a customer and you have a negative experience, but the company does such a great job of taking care of you through that negative experience, you are now actually more loyal than you would have been if that negative experience wouldn't have happened in the first place.
Amen.
And so there is sort of there's this big opportunity actually when an error happens, how you react and respond to that is either going to deepen or completely erode the trust that you have with your customer.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of instances where I've experienced something like that. But yes, on the cake thing, like maybe the next one's on us. I don't know how many people order multiple wedding cakes,
Right.
but I think something like that, you're fair, or
Yeah.
it's fair to say, you know what? This was your special day, whatever. You ordered chocolate, you got German chocolate. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Depending on how much it costs, like I'm going to refund, uh, you know, all of it, maybe half of it. That might cost you money.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of a refund, you offer a coupon for like if you come back anything at all, up to that amount is on us.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to be like, oh, I got a free, so I'd like to order a wedding cake just to have around the house or whatever, just to eat.
Yeah.
And some people won't even use it. It's just the gesture
It
of,
is.
I want to make this right.
It is. Yeah. The Ritz-Carlton, another huge brand that
Hmm.
their motto, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. And so they really ensure, yeah, they ensure that their employees are empowered, again, that word, that buzzword, to take care of the customer to the point where they are allotted a budget per day. And so let's say, for example, if I'm a customer, I'm going to order a coffee and the milk that I want, they don't have. That barista is empowered to say, thank you so much for letting me know the milk that you'd like. I can actually go and grab you some of that milk. I'll be right back. And they can go wherever to go get that milk and have that for the customer. And that is a very micro example. They can go even bigger with that. Because if you think about the Ritz-Carlton, it is meant to be a premium experience.
Hmm.
And so if you handicap your employees by not giving them the freedom and the creativity to solve a customer's needs, now what you're doing is that you are shortchanging that customer's experience. Whereas if you give your employees the opportunity to feel empowered and to get creative, they are going to have a ball just doing what they can and going above and beyond for the customer because they are also going to be rewarded for that and recognized for that. And so now it becomes this game of, okay, so yesterday my customer had this like really, random request, and this is the way that I, provided them a really delightful experience. It isn't just about like meeting the customer's needs, it's also about delighting them. Like, how can you take something and bump it up a notch? Like, I don't know if you've watched the show The Bear. Have you heard of that
No.
show?
Well, you've told me about it.
Yes. Well, the show The Bear is about a restaurant that is under this transformative experience for its employees. And they're in the pursuit of a Michelin star, which is a very high level of achievement within the culinary world.
Hmm.
And the what comes with that is not just about the food and how it's made, but it's also about the customer experience. And there's this character in particular, his name is Richie, who he runs the front of house, which is the dining room and ensuring
Right.
that all of the guests have a really great experience. And he's all about that. He's all about the delights and those moments. Like if there's a birthday, it's like, what can we do to make this very special? Or if there's this moment in somebody's life that we know about, how can we make it this special big thing? So I think that if you empower your employees to do that, the customers are going to have an even better experience and they're going to be so loyal to your product.
That's a great point and a great time to transition to what if customers know that you're striving for that and
Hmm.
they decide to take advantage or to try to take advantage of that? Because that happens too.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of that?
Oh, I do. So when I ran a physical acting school as opposed to online now,
Hmm.
there were people who were very, very demanding. Now, I was very kind, and I always tried to make it about the person, not the profit, because the money will come, the word will spread, that'll
Yeah.
be fine. So I tried to treat people really well. And sometimes there were people who maybe couldn't afford tuition that month, or they needed a regular discount on their tuition. And I was okay with that. I was okay with that. But there had to be a value for value exchange. So if I'm charging you 75% less, right? Because actors are not known for their huge discretionary bank accounts,
Right.
then I'm going to need you to do something for me, whether that's some social media stuff or I had one student, he never missed. He cleaned the facility. That's what he did. He came early, stayed late, came on days where there was no class and cleaned it. Fine by me, fine by me. And when he had some money, he'd pay a little bit. If not, no charge because you're cleaning this whole, and it wasn't small, clean the whole space. But then I had another student who got significant discounts,
Hmm.
excuse me, and the value for value exchange, I kid you not, was she would bring me pens, like a handful of like pens that I guess she kind of like grabbed from different restaurants or whatever. And I was like, okay, I don't need pens every time,
Hmm.
but maybe if we need, because she was a hair and makeup person, if we need hair and makeup for one of the shoots, come and do that.
Yeah.
Then in class, she started to get very not combative, but just like would dominate the time, would
Hmm.
ask a million questions
Yeah.
and then follow up. And other people would ask a question. She'd say, "Oh yeah, but I had a question." And I finally said, you know, name. What I need to do is I'm going to be removing that bartership because it's taking a lot of work. And she said, "Okay, I understand. I understand. I'll do better." Great. That decision's final though. And so that next month, she paid it. I'm sure it was hard on her, but she paid it. At the end of that month, she was even more difficult because now she felt like she was paying more, right? So at the end of that month, I said, okay, I need to make it another adjustment.
Yeah.
Your tuition now is twice what it what the original uh, rate is. It's twice. Well, I'm only showing up to that one class, which was twice a week, whatever. I said, yes, but I have to work twice as hard to work with you. And then I have to field all these other complaints. And I've told you about this a couple times. I'm not kicking you out. I'm just telling you it now costs more to work with you. And so I need to charge you more. Well, she obviously couldn't do that. But that wasn't me saying you can't come back. It
Hmm.
was me saying, in order for me to do this with you, because you're still welcome here, but the terms have now changed because of your behavior. Firing the customer is sometimes okay.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. Because I even said you're always welcome back.
Yeah.
This is what it will take. Does that mean that she can't call me every now and then and ask me a question? Of course she can. But when it comes to being in the room, taking those regular
Mhm.
multi-weekly classes, it's
Yeah.
gonna cost you more. And I think in a weird way, customers will sometimes even res maybe not understand, but they'll respect it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I got that backwards. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they know if they're the problem person in that room. Everybody knows.
I think so. And I have never had to fire someone before, but I do remember one, there was an instance where I was working in the fitness industry and we had to cancel somebody's membership just because of how they were behaving in the facility and just the way that other members also felt around them. It was just a very unique personality that this person was bringing. And so it was unfortunate and we felt bad doing it, but it was necessary because to your point, it's a cost to the business, the brand, and the experience of other customers. In fact, if you lose three customers over one person, that one person is four times, more like basically costing you in value, right? And so I think to
Hmm.
your point, that choice, especially as an entrepreneur, I'm sure as someone who is wanting to build, you're thinking this is counterintuitive to what I want to do in terms of driving revenue, but if it is going to cost your business more or cost you more time and energy, then I think that those are sometimes the hard conversations you need to have that are the difficult decisions that business owners need to make.
Absolutely. When you're running your own business, even when there's a big business, apparently from our stories today, but certainly when you're an entrepreneur running your own business, the revenue that you generate is not just financial. It's also your reputation. What would you call that? Social revenue, your
Yeah,
social
your
revenue.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people need to know that you're going to do what you say. They need to know that you care about them, not just their wallets.
Hmm.
And sometimes that means removing the, what did you call it? Difficult personality. You got to trim the fat.
Yeah.
Now, I find it surprising that you've never had to fire someone, though. Like, ever? Anyone ever?
I've had to let go of employees that I managed, but I've never had to fire a customer outside of
I
that
see.
example that I brought up to you. But yeah, I wish I would have fired a customer that I was doing a UGC for, which at that point I was just so far into production and filming all of their things that I was just like, I can't believe that I agreed to this rate and it's so much more work than what I'm getting for it, but I'll never do this again. But
I did the same thing for a UGC company. Um, and they sent me, like, it was for a little camera thing. They sent me
mhm,
the camera. I made two videos according to their rate.
yeah,
And one of the gals said that we could negotiate, a higher rate if they liked the videos. Well, they loved the videos. And they said, "Great, let's talk about," or I said, "Sorry, great, let's talk about my rate." "Oh, well, we can't do that." I'm like, "Well, I'm keeping the camera. Thank you."
there you go. Sorry.
Because you know that if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. It's better to know that in the beginning than after committing all that time. You're so right. I bet you would be very good though, even in the corporate office. I bet you're very good at gently releasing someone from their obligations of working there.
Hmm.
But am I wrong?
Um, I'm wondering if the people themselves are better for you to ask that question to, not me.
Perhaps, but I'm not in front of them. What do you think? Do you
I know.
think you're good at it?
I'm trying to remember. So, what's interesting is that there was one in particular, there was one person that I'll never forget letting them go, and it was a very traumatic experience for me as a manager. This person was crying. This person found it to be unexpected. Um, and I just felt terribly for making that decision. And I honestly also didn't necessarily fully agree with the choice, but this was also someone who I had inherited. And what I mean by that is that she was previously reporting to someone else, and then we did some changes in how we were structuring the people that were reporting into different leaders. And so she transitioned into me. And with that came some baggage of poor performance that I didn't necessarily see throughout my tenure as her manager, but my tenure was also short-lived. And so when it came down to having to make difficult decisions about low performers and having to go through that process, even though I wasn't the full witness to everything that had happened with her specifically, I was the one delivering the difficult news after, again, only having managed her maybe about a month. And so that was hard. And I don't know that I did such a great job. I remember, in fact, that I had like talking points that I was expected to stick to. And
Hmm.
the HR person was also in the room with me, and she and I are still very close friends to this day, even though we, now work for different companies and stuff, but our time at that company, we just reminisce about. And I'm just like, oh, when I think back to that experience, I don't think that I would certainly say that it was not a highlight of my career, or that I was really good at it, but I don't like managing people. And I think
Wait,
that that's
what?
part
Says
of
the
it.
HR pro?
I know I don't love I think that it's really hard. It's not my favorite thing to do. I think that if I were growing to another level and I had to manage someone, I think that I am now in a different industry and there's different maturity levels than previous organizations that I've been a part of, were where the leveling and the time in people's careers and all of that was just very different. And so I think that when you're basically managing people who are longer in their career, more mature in their development professionally, you have a different experience as a people manager than you do when you're managing people who are earlier in their career.
Ah, yes. Yes. And because there's this different expectation
Yeah.
when these people have more experience
Yeah.
of like in a way where you them feeling like they're higher than you or equals and who are you to fire me? Is that what you mean?
What I mean actually is that I like managing people who are just a little bit more independent and don't need
Ah,
as
don't
much
need
holding.
management.
Right. I like people that don't need a whole lot of hand holding, that also like to view me as a player coach, as somebody who is working hard alongside them, that can help give them mentorship and insight, but not somebody that they necessarily need to turn to for every single decision
Mm-hmm.
and move, or that needs to be so heavily involved. I think that's kind of the level of leadership. And I think that they're like, if you're managing managers or if you're managing directors, or like, let's say you're a CEO and you're managing an executive team, that executive team is not going to need you to hold their hand through these decisions.
Right.
That executive team is going to see you, twice a week for their exec meeting and the one-on-one. And that's if you have weekly one-on-ones with your CEO. You may or may not, right? And so I just, not that that's like, not that I'm going to be a CEO managing execs, but I kind of like that more hands-off leadership style rather than the like very heavily needing development, growth, all of those different. I just, and not to say I feel like I'm getting like foot and mouth right
Not at all. No, I totally understand what you're saying.
and like, not to say that I don't like like mentoring people, because I do enjoy that. Like I've had people, for example, that have joined my company that I'm at currently, or previous companies that I've been in, where you have like very early career people that are, reaching out to me as like, oh my gosh, I love what you do and you're so good at it. Can you help me with project management? Or I need help with this thing. Can you teach me? And I love having those kinds of relationships because I feel like I'm not so connected to the outcome and their output. If they do well or if they do poorly, it really doesn't have much bearing to my day to day. It just means like either I help them get better or my advice didn't land and their manager has to go deal with their performance, not me.
I I actually like working under that style. Because even though I'm an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean that I don't work on teams.
Mhm.
I come in as part of that team and then I leave when that project is over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want somebody who's like, hey, you've got autonomy.
Yeah.
You know what to do. I'm here if you need me. try not to need me.
Yeah.
You were picked because you can do this, so go do this. I like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a negative.
Yeah.
I think that some people aren't comfortable working in that style, but I'm not one of those people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I've got news. That is our time for today. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I know that flew by, didn't it?
It sometimes does. And I always say that, complaining, it's good for the soul. The internet needs more of that. And so today we were happy to provide just that extra ounce of bitters.
Yeah. A little bit of
But
salt.
there you go. But customer service is so important. Look at the impact that it had both on Daisy, both on me. It caused us to leave the same company. And I love what Daisy said. Sometimes a mistake is an opportunity to keep that customer forever. So if you work for a company, start thinking about that in terms of your coworkers, your managers, or your customers. If you own a company, start thinking about that because we're always going to make mistakes. So start thinking about what can I do to make that experience better, even if I royally screwed up that particular instance, right?
Yeah, there you have it. This
See you
is
next time, everybody. Oh, you did it. You did it. Okay. I thought you were
mastering
gonna.
the workplace one slay at a time.
That's like our thing now. We never know. I don't ever want to play in that. We'll just let that go. All right. So be it. Goodbye, everybody.